I want to call the meeting to order and welcome you all to the Portsmouth City Council meeting. I would now ask that my council members stand, and each of you in the audience, please stand for a moment of silence and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes.
Present.
Mr. Battle.
Here.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke.
Here.
Mr. Moody.
Here.
Dr. Whitaker.
Present.
Mr. Woodard.
Here.
Mayor Glover.
Here. Thank you, ma'am. Members of council, we have for our consideration the minutes of a called meeting September 13th, 2022, a regular meeting on September 13th, 2022, and a special call meeting on September 14th, 2022. Is there any discussion of the minutes? Seeing none, we're in need of a motion and a second.
Move for approval.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes.
Yes.
Mr. Battle.
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Moody.
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mr. Woodard.
Yes.
Mayor Glover.
Yes. Madam Clerk, would you please read the speaker's statement for tonight?
Yes, sir. City Council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks shall be directed to the City Council as a body rather than any particular member of City Council, staff, or the audience, and should be limited to matters that only the Portsmouth City Council can influence. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir.
We have come to the agenda item, City Manager's Report. Item 22-286. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting a grant in the amount of $552,761 from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services and appropriating said sum in the FY 2023 Grants Fund for use by the Commonwealth's Attorney Office for the Victim Witness Program.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion from our members on council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes.
Yes.
Mr. Battle.
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Moody.
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mr. Woodard.
Yes.
Mayor Glover.
Yes. Item 22-287. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting with appreciation a bequest in the amount of $176,000 from the estate of Mondovi K. Shari and appropriating said funds in the FY 2023 general fund budget for use by the Police Department and the Department of Fire, Rescue, and Emergency Services.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Second.
And we do have one speaker for this item, and the speaker is Mr. Mark Godaldi-Yatrovsky. Mr. Yatrovsky, sir. Is Mr. Yatrovsky present?
He's out in the hall.
Sir, you're signed up for a speaker. Please state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes. For item
He said no. He said
22-287, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and other neighbors. Mark Gadulli-Yatrovsky in the Sterling Point neighborhood of Portsmouth. You got here quickly. I wasn't prepared for you to be so on the money. But speaking of on the money, what you have before you is quite a remarkable gift. And I, as a citizen, want to express my appreciation to the heirs of the giver for that act of generosity. My hope is that the way the money is deployed will be in a manner that gives us a reminder over the coming years of how this came to the city, and that its application is something that isn't just a one-off and then forgotten about. Because it's $176,000 from a single citizen of this city. And in my 26 years of coming to council meetings and residing in the city of Portsmouth, I've never seen anything like it. And we have seen small gifts from organizations and individuals over time. They are not to be discounted. Everybody's resources are not the same. And a $100 gift from somebody who is living on a fixed income. There was a postal worker some years ago who gave gifts to charitable organizations out of a very modest salary. So all of those gifts deserve to be recognized and appreciated, but this is one that is many orders of magnitude above what we normally see. So I hope that we will celebrate it, we will recall it in years to come, and that it will be deployed in such a way that it gives a continuing return to our first responders, who are the ultimate beneficiaries of the gift. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Council members, is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-288. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance approving categories of expenditures for American Rescue Plan Act funding.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And we do have 2 speakers on this item. The first speaker is Ms. Donna Sy. Ma'am, if you would come forward, state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy. I live at 3104 Garland Drive, Woodbine Farms neighborhood in Churchland. 22-288 is approving expenditures for a portion of the American Rescue Plan Act funding approved by City Council on August the 9th, 2022. Now, the second round of ARPA funding of over $28 million has been received. On September the 14th, the City Council agreed on a number of projects under the category of general government using approximately 85% of the ARPA funds. which equals over $24 million. The general government expenditures equals over $22 million. What is to be done with the balance of over $1.2 million? On September the 14th work session also included information on the utilities and sewer projects. Where is the executive brief regarding those expenditures from the ARPA funds? The next question is this. The ARPA funds are designed to pay for rehabilitation of the police headquarters at 701 Crawford Street. How come there has been no assessment of the cost to rehabilitate the police headquarters? When has the police staff met with the architects to create an organized version of the structure needed to have all the divisions of the police department having the space needed to carry out its duties and responsibilities to the public? Ms. Dow would not share with me the amount of money the city is paying for the lease agreement at 700 Port Center Parkway. Last but not least, Portsmouth Chief Financial Officer needs to provide monthly reports from the department directors and some constitutional officers as part of the council's packet for the first public hearing each month. Will probably be month prior, but we need to know monthly. We the people need to know how much revenue is coming in each month and how much expenditures are going out each month, since the budget book is only recording salaries and benefits. We the people want to keep track of all of our money being used for someone else's benefit.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker, Mr. Mark Godolty-Yatrovsky, sir.
We had Councilman.
Councilman Woodard, Mr. Yatrovsky, before you begin, Councilman Woodard had his hand raised. Sir?
Thank
have
you.
the floor.
This is a question for Deputy City Manager Baldwin. I got a question. Have there ever been a assessment or a study of how much it would cost to rehabilitate that police station, the older police station? Has there ever been anything of that magnitude in the past?
In terms of rehabilitating, you talking about, I'm not sure which building you're referring to.
The old police station, I think Ms. Sy referred to that.
The one right behind City Hall,
Right.
the one on Water Street.
Or the one on Water Street, I'm sorry.
That's where the police administration came out of there. The rest of the police, you'd find next door over at the Civic Center, which I think where the most of the police were held, if that's the old police headquarters. There was an assessment done of the cost to do the repairs back in 2018, has not been updated. I don't have those figures right in front of me, but there was an assessment done to bring the building back up to 1970 standard, which is the year the building was built. So there was a cost done for that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Mr. Yatrovsky, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, council, and other neighbors. When you had your special meeting on the 14th, I spoke to you about my concerns regarding water and sewer infrastructure and the liability we have in terms of the consent order that we are operating under with regard to stopping sewer overflows and making our water system safe. There are some issues with dams that support our water purification and distribution. I had recommended using ARPA funds to get a leg up on our total liability, our total responsibility, which it was estimated in 2020 at nearly $1.5 billion with a B dollars. You have allocated, according to the conversation that you had, I actually spoke to you before the September 14th meeting. On September 14th, you allocated the monies differently from what I recommended. that is within your purview, but I remind you that we are under consent orders and that the burden on the ratepayers, if you go through the rate-setting process for bringing about the billion and a half dollars, 2020 dollars in improvements that are required. And let me reference our current inflationary era, which we do not know when we will see the end of it, but that of course makes everything that has been projected previously more expensive going forward. So $1.5 billion may turn to $1.75 billion, and so on. I would ask you, since you have not opted to use ARPA money for this water and sewer system improvements, that in formulating your budget for fiscal year 2024, that you not take any distribution from water system revenues. That has been a way of balancing the city's budget that was long established. When the consultant gave the report last summer, or summer of 2021, the consultants pretty much debunked the rationale for doing that. They pointed out that all the infrastructure that those transfers were supposedly reimbursing the city for had been reimbursed, and reimbursed more than once. So stop doing that sleight of hand and let the money go for the purposes that people are paying the water and sewer fees for. The other caution I want to throw out is that we are losing one of our rather large water users in the city, Win Energy. They are discontinuing operations in the near future, and we will need to replace the revenue that they have been providing us through their purchases of water and sewer service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
The last comment, he said green energy.
When?
When? Mr. Battle, sir, you have the floor.
To the citizens of our city, our water system and our infrastructure is over 100 years old. We didn't make it 100 years old. It's been there that long. Now, I've heard a number of different folk give a number of different estimates. But if those things are prepared and attacked properly, there's no way they're going to cost that much. When a person is giving you an estimate, they'll give you anything and ask for anything. So, again, our system is old and we don't know when it's going to break down and give us a big problem. But these are the things that me and the council members and the city manager are attacking at this point. But I've heard, 900 million. I've heard, $1 billion. And now it's $1.5 billion, and in the future it can be more. But that's a myth. If you want to give away money, yes, folk will be there with their hands out to take $2 billion, $3 billion. But again, we know we got an old system. If it breaks, it's nobody's fault but age and the prior councils not knowing their obligation. I didn't say they weren't meeting it. They didn't know that it would get to this point possibly, because I look at it without throwing stones and things like that. But it is something that we know about, and let me assure you, we're going to do the best we can to meet this obligation and make sure that we put this thing together and in place so it'll work out for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Lucas Burke, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. My question, I guess, is directed to city manager and probably maybe city staff. The approved categorical expenditures that we have listed for the crime reduction, does that include the community groups that are providing crime programs?
The funding does have, is allocated for some groups, but we have not decided who will be the recipient of those groups. I plan to host a meeting in the coming weeks for individuals that are interested in presenting their plan, their nonprofit organization and their initiatives to the city to see what groups they are directing their services to, and to get a better understanding on how we're serving our citizens and providing those wraparound services, and we're not duplicating our efforts.
Correct, yes, because I was looking at the $500,000, and I think council and probably some of our citizens would like to see a list or to see how that's broken down categorically. And then the next question, I think we had all asked for a list of the funding for the school projects. I know that they get their money in the arrears after the work is done. We're going to upfront the money to them, and then it'll be reimbursed to us. But do they have a list of things that this is going to go towards?
We do have a list of projects. We received the information from the schools on their request to council about reappropriating money, but that's something we need to discuss.
Right. And then last question, I guess, do we have a timeline of when these will happen, start, finish, after the money has been dispersed?
Timeline as far as what will
Like we
happen.
disbursing the money now, will it be 30 days? Will it be another 3 months? When are some of these projects, when is the money for specifically the crime software? Is it gonna happen like in 30 days? I know that they wanted to get right on ordering.
As soon as it is adopted today, we will start the process of purchasing the necessary items and allocating the funding.
Thank you.
Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Chapman, the groups that you'll be meeting with, is an application process involved with that?
Yes, sir, that is my intent. I'm working with our marketing director now. We're trying to get together the application and put out the announcement for individuals that are interested in participating and interested in receiving funds from the city.
So we'll be advertising what the process is?
Correct.
And a timetable to submit an application?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay, thank you.
City Manager Chapman, I do have a couple of items, and I did, before I ask, I want to respond to our speaker who just spoke. In regards to the infrastructure and the water system, we did have, prior to a couple of years ago, we had the consultant come in and educate us on what the status of our water delivery system was and what would be needed to bring it up to standard. I understand what the speaker was saying, and I think it is absolutely critical that we pay attention to how we fund it going forward. We certainly, none of us up here would ever want a situation where our water system is compromised, and that would be catastrophic to our citizens. So I would agree with you that it is critically important that we look at how we will fund that going forward and continue to keep that front and center in our discussions and our budget. The other thing, ma'am, the speaker spoke of consent orders on our dams and other things. I don't really know what those consent orders are, so if you could look into providing information to us as a council on the consent orders and what they mean in terms of our response and liability, if you would do that, just so we're informed.
Yes, sir, I certainly will. And just to follow back up on Councilman Moody's question, our marketing staff is also currently in the process of reaching out to every single individual organization that received ARPA fundings last year to get an assessment on what their programs were, what were the outcomes, what were the measurable results, et cetera. So we are working on that as well.
Thank you, ma'am. And so, if there are no other questions, okay, Councilmember Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Mayor, along with your request, you know, the improvements and some of these mandates haven't been static. There's been funds allocated and improvements made. I think when you give us the feedback, I think it would be good for the public to know what those have been and what the cost has been thus far on those improvements.
Yes, sir, we'll take care of that as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any additional discussion on this item amongst council? Seeing none, then Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-289. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir, an ordinance accepting hazardous materials emergency response team cost recovery funding in the amount of $1,153.14 from the Virginia Department of Emergency Management and appropriating said sum in the FY 2023 Grants Fund for use by the Department of Fire, Rescue, and Emergency Services.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move adoption.
Council members, is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Barnes? Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-290. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir, an ordinance accepting a grant in the amount of $31,607 from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration through the Virginia Highway Safety Office and appropriating said amount in the FY 2023 Grants Fund for use by the Police Department to reduce driving under the influence.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Second.
We do have one registered speaker for this item, Ms. Laniqua Taylor. Laniqua Taylor. Am I pronouncing your name right, ma'am? Ms. Laniqua Taylor. I don't believe that Ms. Taylor is available at this time. Is there any additional discussion amongst the members of council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Barnes? Yes. Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-91. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we're considering pertaining to this item? Or did I miss 9?
It's 291, sir.
Okay, 291.
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting a grant in the amount of $25,285 from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration through the Virginia Highway Safety Office and appropriating said funds in the FY 2023 Grants Fund for use by the Police Department for traffic safety initiatives.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion amongst the members of council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-292. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting planning grant funding in the amount of $41,746 from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development through the Portsmouth Homeless Area Consortium Continuum of Care and appropriating said amount to the FY 2023 Grants Fund for use by the Department of Social Services.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move to approve.
Second.
We do have two speakers for this item. Our first speaker, Ms. Donna Sy. Ma'am, if you would state your name and address, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live at 3104 Garland Drive in Woodenbine Farms neighborhood, Churchland. 22-292 is an ordinance accepting a planning grant for over $41,700 from the Department of Housing and Urban Development for use by the Department of Social Services Division, Portsmouth Homeless Area Consortium, Continuum of Care for the year 2023. There is nothing in the budget book listing this division. In a Freedom of Information Act response from PRHA, were minutes of its commission meeting for October and November. In the October PRHA commission meeting minutes, there was a grant for $20,000 received from the Virginia Housing to assist with strategic planning. The strategic planning must be about giving the board more information about the Swanson Homes relocation, and the relocation plan was submitted and approved by HUD. The plan had to be approved first before the bid for demolition was approved. The plan needs to be shared with city council members. In the November 18th PRHA commission meeting minutes, a presentation on the Continuum of Care was given. The information included Portsmouth Homeless Action Consortium and the roles of PRHA with the Continuum of Care. The PHAC, or the Portsmouth Homeless Action Consortium Committee structure, was reviewed. Details of the way PRHA exists with their programs, and including Virginia Supportive Housing, Emergency Housing Voucher Program, and the Homeless Preference Application were reviewed. There was mention PRHA properties at city meetings, but there was no mention of PRHA. There was a contact with the city manager to find out why PRHA was not a part of the conversation. There are 10,000 people who were housed by PRHA. I would like to know about why the transfer of the PHAC COC Planning Dollars Grant is going to the Department of Social Service. Back to the minutes. It reported that Portsmouth Department of Social Services is the lead agency for the Continuum of Care. The grant match can be cash in kind, or a combination of both. The match must be equal or greater than 25% of the total grant request. The cash match is over $10,000, which has already been appropriated. The question is, how does the PRHA work with social services about the Continuum of Care? There is no organized structure of the PRHA with the city to allow the people to know what is going on in the PRHA, or Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority. There are so many homeless people on the streets, and yet there are no watchmen to see what it is they need. The PRHA needs to be a subcommittee of the Economic Development Authority. We need a town hall meeting for the people to get a voice in his or her own government by getting an organized structure like other cities or counties. When is that going to be done? As a citizen, I have the right and duty to self-govern, as others do too.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Miss Laniqua Taylor. Miss Laniqua Taylor. Council members, is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-293, Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir, an ordinance accepting funding from the Virginia Department of Social Services in the amount of $6,900 and appropriating said amount in the FY 2023 Social Services Fund for the Family Partnership Meeting Incentive Program.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Is there any additional comments amongst my colleagues on council on this matter? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 22-294. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. Resolution adopting the 2022 Hampton Roads Hazardous Mitigation Plan to reduce damage and save lives in the event of a natural disaster in the region.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for approval.
Second.
Council members, is there any additional comments or questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. New business, item 22-295. Vice Mayor Barnes and Dr. Whitaker, are there any appointments to bring forward for consideration?
No.
Thank you, sirs. Item 22-296. Items submitted by council. Council members, do you have any items to submit at this time? Thank you. Item 22-297. Ms. Chapman, ma'am, are there any pending items?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor, we do not have any pending items.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 22-298, non-agenda speakers. And Madam Clerk, before we call our first speaker, would you please read the speaker's statement?
Yes, sir. City Council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks shall be directed to the city council as a body rather than to any particular member of city council, staff, or the audience, and should be limited to matters that only the Portsmouth City Council can influence. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir.
Our next speaker is Blair Vernon. Blair Vernon, are you here, ma'am? Please come forward, state your name, address, and ma'am, you will have 5 minutes.
My name is Blair Vernon. Thank you for giving me this time. My address is 4012 Cedar Lane, Portsmouth, Virginia 237. 03. I'm here because I've been really concerned over the past summers that the mosquito issue has been really nasty, and I wouldn't even let a dog outside. But now that the weather's changing, it's not as bad. but some of our people, I was concerned about, it got to the point where people can't go to work or going to doctor's appointments or taking a whole bunch of tranquilizer medicine to calm that down. So I said next year, I would like y'all to think about the animal, like not just pesticides, but pests that can kill or eat the mosquitoes, because it's been a problem every year. And normally, this is my first time, I would not complain about it, but it's getting to the point where it's hindering my job, hindering my lifestyle, my life, my skin, yeah, everything. I also like to say it was kind of an issue a couple months ago, how I was looking in my area in Churchland. It was kind of nasty, littering and everything else, but everybody sort of kind of cleaning up and doing something about it. It's getting better. But I'm used to, and my family used to, holding a certain pride in where we live, in our area, and that's how I was raised. So it hurt me and hurt my heart to see things littering or whatever, and people not taking pride in their stuff. And I understand inflation and gas and things are changing where we not dependent on carbs and carbon fuel. So, and we going green. So I'm trying to be patient. Noise, I live near the fire station. They kind of doing better, but like I am a light sleeper. I just ask that people start having respect of other people, where they live, who they live around. That's all. I just asking for respect, for people to have consideration of who might hear them, and not disrupt. Because even me, I get frustrated, but like not disrupt the residential area. But so far, I'm happy to say hello. Hopefully, I won't be back over here for a complaint or anything. And thank you for the time. And one more thing, unemployment commission, please work on that. Now hiring. I'm calling people. Haven't had a job off and on for so many. It was months. It seemed like years. Couldn't get a clear understand what's going on. The office was closed because this is when the pandemic was happening. I couldn't get a clear understanding what's going on. I know things are changing and everything's opening up, but this unemployment insurance thing, benefits, I would like that to be clear. A lot of people, I know you can't help this, but I was also trying to work at another city because it wasn't hiring in Portsmouth, and there's a lot of people moving in our area. I had to pay for tolls. You know what I'm saying? This is taken away from me and my household. Being unemployed for so long, I do not want to be on the system. I haven't been on the system. I don't want to be a problem. I want to be a solution. So I want y'all, if y'all can have a better solution on how to handle that, the VEC, please work on that. Because I was taught to, I have some kind of work ethic, and just not sitting home and, thank you. But anyway, thank you for your time.
Miss Vernon?
Yes.
If you would hold just a minute. So I just want to make sure I understand what you were asking us. The VEC, the Unemployment Commission, that's not a city agency.
Okay.
First of all, I'm just kind of giving you information. That's a state agency. Okay. However, you did speak about you may be having some challenges, maybe finding employment. Is that correct?
I was, yes. And traveling from another city, Portsmouth, to all the way to Virginia Beach. Yeah, and gas and stuff like that. I mean, it really did take a toll. Yeah.
Understood. So if you would, if it's okay with you, we do have some programs in the city of Portsmouth that help our residents to gain additional skills and gain employment here in the city.
Okay.
And if you're open to that, I would ask that you would stay behind and our city manager, ma'am, could we provide her with some information?
Yes, sir, and she can see Miss Bernadette Hogue, and we can supply her the information she needs.
Okay.
So we may be able to help you in that way, but we appreciate you coming forward and sharing your information, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Also, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Vern,
Yes, sir.
was there an issue with, with you understanding the process of VEC?
That too, but I couldn't get clear concept of help. I have called people, and I did go to the office. They had like job fairs, and I drove all over.
So the reason I'm at is,
Yeah, sorry.
Is that something too that Ms. Hodge can give her some information on? Okay. And also, did I hear you mention something about the toll and having to pay tolls?
Yes.
Are you aware of the toll relief?
I did put in for it.
You did? Okay.
Yes,
All
sir,
right.
I did.
All right.
Yes, I did.
Right, and just so you know, there's a new program starting November 1st, and they're actually raising the bar to 50,000 from 30,000. So it will begin to take applications on November the 1st. Unlike the old program, you do not have a window of time in which to enroll in the program. And what will take place once you qualify for that program after the first of the year, you will begin to see your tolls be reduced after you go through the tunnel no later than 24 hours. So stand by and I can get you some more information on that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Our next speaker is Martin Bayer. Did I see your last name right, sir?
Bayer.
Bayer, okay, no, I need to say it right. Bayer. Okay, Mr. Bayer, sir, if you state your name and address, you have 5
My
minutes.
name is Martin Bayer. I live on North Street, 300 North Street in Old Town. I'm here as a representative of the Old Town Civic League. I'm the second vice president of the Old Town Civic League. And I'm here today because the citizens of our Civic League are fairly displeased with the management of the construction project on Court Street. The project has been going on for about a year and a half now. It's experienced recurrent delays with weeks and months going by with not a single construction worker or anybody kind of on the site. It's about 4 city blocks that have been torn up and are kind of in disrepair at this point. So quite concerned that there are multiple new projects being proposed, millions of dollars being spent on new construction projects, and this one project has not been able to be completed in the year-and-a-half timeline. This project has negatively impacted a lot of people on that street. Numerous civic events that bring in tourists to Old Town have had to be canceled or significantly modified, such that there's been a negative financial impact on the businesses of High Street and the surrounding area. So races, the ghost walks had to be modified, some of the historic walking tours, things like that, just to kind of name a few. The residents of Court Street have brought their concerns to us as the Civic League, noticing damage to cars and their homes, concerned about property values, things like that. Difficulty selling homes when you can't use your street, or their own personal renovation projects within their homes, they can't use their street. Another concern is the safety hazard on this street for this prolonged period of time. The brick sidewalks have been, had to be torn up in various places, weeds overgrown, lots of tripping hazards, things of that sort for a prolonged period of time on the city sidewalk there. So what I am requesting of the City Council is to direct the City Engineering Department. So Mr. Wright has been providing fairly inconsistent information up until actually recently. So most recently he has provided some pretty good solid path forward for the next couple of weeks. But we would like more specific timelines on a continuous basis of why the projects have been delayed for so long, what exactly have the roadblocks been, and what the plan is to sort of refigure out what's going to happen. So if there have been certain things that aren't going to work anymore because the project had to be changed for various contractors and whatnot, what the new solution is and what the ultimate timeline is going to be, because people want their street back. So consistent reports of what's happening and when is it going to be done. And the citizens of Court Street also would very much like a voice in whatever modifications to the plan are going to happen. So most recent information I have, we have some good information from Mr. Wright from City Engineering, but I would just ask that you continue to apply pressure on that project so that it gets done expeditiously, because the citizens of Court Street want their street back. So, thank you.
Councilman Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
How you doing, Mr. Byer? Are you talking about from Court to London? Is that where it starts at, and then on back towards, I guess, Crawford? Not
Exactly.
Crawford, but
Yep.
Crawford. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there? Well, I just want to know. I know you say you talked to our engineer James Wright.
I did
but-
not personally speak to him.
Okay.
Some of the
I
other
was about to
members
say,
of
is there
the
any-
Civic League
could
board
you
did.
specify the information that he gave you? You don't know that particular information. I'm just asking.
So he did. So I don't have it, printed out with me right now. He
Right.
did provide that information actually late yesterday or early this morning is when I got that email that actually did have some specifics. So I don't have that right in front of me, but that information was substantial, and so I would like to see more of that on a regular basis until the project is completed, basically. So we had previously gotten very nebulous answers such as by the holidays, and we're thinking Christmas 24.
Right.
So
it's no specifics at this time.
So I don't have those specifics with you right now, but
Yeah.
what we did receive was good yesterday, but I just would like that on a consistent basis so that the people that I'm representing from the Old Town Civic League can have the information and know when they're going to get their street back.
Was it anything, I'm just asking if you heard it from any of your other members pertaining to flooding issues, or?
So that is one of the big issues there. So none of them are experts in drainage of the streets, but noticing, yes, there's been flooding on the street, and exactly what the solution to that is going to be, we don't know. We would like it to be fixed as soon as possible. But yeah, that is something that some of the residents of Court Street have noticed, flooding, like the drainage system's not quite working yet. So I know there's some plans for bioretention drainage systems, basically, on the city sidewalks. So that is part of it, but what exactly those look like, I know we're trying to communicate with Mr. Wright. So.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Quite frequently, the public asks council members about the status of projects, whether it be Court Street, Churchland Bridge. It's one I think all of us could ask that question quite frequently. I think it would be a good idea, Mayor, if engineering through the manager's office would give us a monthly update on any major project going on in our city, and not only provide it to members of council, but post it on our website, a construction status update, if you may. I think that would be a good idea. Some of these projects, like Court Street, seem like they go on and on and on, like the Energizer Bunny, and it'd be good to know when the expected completion date, at least, is there. Is that?
I think that is certainly appropriate. And one of the things, before I turn it over to Councilwoman Lucasberg, I do have something I'd ask of the city manager. Is it possible that we could do a quarterly update with the Civic League? Kind of bring everyone in the same room and kind of update them as to the progress of the project? Is that something that we could consider, ma'am?
Sir, yes, that's definitely something we can consider. I actually have a quarterly meeting with all Civic Association leagues presidents tomorrow night here in this very chambers, but we can certainly meet with at least send the information to the Civic League on a quarterly basis. The information I do have is that as it pertains to the Court Street. The contractor is currently limited until relocations by Columbia Gas and Dominion Energy are substantially complete. And both W.E. Curling and Columbia Gas have indicated that they have about 30 days to complete the work on London Boulevard. So that's a current update. But like the gentleman said, Mr. Wright did send him a very detailed email yesterday as to the status of the project.
Thank you, ma'am. And Councilwoman Lucas Burke, hold on, sir, I think she may have a question.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you, Mr. Byer, for bringing this to our attention, because I did want to make mention about the conglomerate of civic leagues that we had that were coming together, and they were giving reports from the department. So thank you, City Manager, for letting us know that that will resume tomorrow, because that's where a lot of that information was shared. Of course, we as council members can't get out to our own various civic leagues because we're here, we're in meetings, we're in liaison meetings, and we have other community events that people expect to see us in their attention to. But I think that conglomerate of civic leagues worked well because they had department heads that were here, and they were giving, quarterly reports of everything that was going on. And so those concerns are valid, and we appreciate you bringing that to us today.
Thank you, sir.
So, Mr. Mayor, just so we're clear, is it the consent of council that we perform quarterly updates or provide quarterly updates to the civic leagues on the various projects?
All in favor of providing the quarterly updates to those civic leagues? Could I see a show of hands?
Mr. Mayor. These projects pertain to those particular civic leagues or those communities?
Well, I think right now, those who have outstanding projects, but perhaps that could be a practice we could adopt going forward, but certainly the ones that have the outstanding projects right now.
Yes, sir. We'll take care of it. Thank you.
There was also,
Madam City Attorney.
thank you. There was also Councilman Moody's request for a monthly construction update. Are we doing a consent?
I don't think.
Councilman Moody, sir, you
I
have the
think a
floor.
quarterly update is too far out. I think when we have a major construction project, I mean, I don't think that would be time-consuming to just update the project, whether it's still on the projected timeline, whether it's met with some delays due to supply issues or labor issues. I think monthly on some of these projects is needed. Quarterly is, 3 months out is a long time.
Councilman Moody, that's a good point, but I wanted to just remind you that the monthly construction update would be just to council. The quarterly report would be to
we would
civic.
share, that'd be a council/public update that would be posted online.
We need a consent vote on that.
I mean, my thought is for somebody to have to come to the 6th floor on a Tuesday night to inquire about a project and timeline in their community, that's to me unacceptable. They should be able to find out the status of that construction project without having to spend a Tuesday night here.
Okay, so we already have a consensus for the quarterly update with the Civic League. You are amending your request for consent from monthly to quarterly?
Not me.
Well, why don't we do this?
Quarterly to monthly.
Right. Why don't we do this? I would like to ask my colleagues on council to rescind the quarterly consensus and consider the monthly consensus for the follow-up. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Council, Dr. Whitaker, you have the floor.
Yeah, can I suggest that with upgrades with our IT that is expected, that we discuss this and bring that into line with what possibilities we could have with IT. We're posting it before we make any definites on that tonight. Yes, I would like.
I don't really know what IT has a whole lot to do other than what we're talking about is informing our citizens of what's going on. I know that you can post that on the website, but I think we're generally talking about providing information. That can certainly be an IT function, but I think the question is more importantly, people want to know what's going on in the short term, and I think that monthly is not unreasonable.
Well, there are a number of ways of letting citizens know what's going on other than posting and on the website. So that's why I was suggesting that we might want to discuss it in the totality of what IT could offer and be very conducive to our citizens to be updated in a more efficient way.
So there appears to be a amended request to defer this until IT can be involved in the process. Do we have consent on that?
Can we get a consent vote by show of hands on that particular question that was just posed?
Bill, Miss-
Mr. Battle, sir, you have the floor.
Well, maybe we need to get something like this done at the onset. Like when we give these folks these contracts, maybe we can make that a requirement. I'm sure they won't mind giving us monthly or quarterly updates, whichever, but maybe that's something we need to do at the onset, because do we have that in the contract, that they give us a monthly update? Do we have it that they are responsible to give us a quarterly update? Now, they very well may do it in good faith of dealing with us, but I think that to make that work, that we'll probably need to initiate that in the contractual part of the agreement.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
If my colleagues don't disagree, I think we should just go with a quarterly update, being that this is somewhat a pilot program for ourselves and for the citizens. And, in the future, I think we can transition to doing something monthly. But for right now, I think a quarterly update is adequate in the numerous projects that are being considered throughout Portsmouth, throughout the city. So a quarterly update, I think, is reasonable.
Madam City Attorney, did you have something that you wanted to say?
No, sir. The debate is ongoing, and so when the debate is done, then we will address what consent is needed.
Well, I think after the debate, I believe that what Mr. Mr. Beyer indicated, I don't think that it's out of the realm of a reasonable request for us to inform those projects within the neighborhood on a monthly basis. I think that's fine. However, the reason that I recommended on a quarterly basis to my colleague at the end of the day is he indicated a number of these projects are ongoing, and I don't think it's unreasonable to provide a quarterly update. In addition to that, Madam City Manager, in terms of your meetings with the civic leagues, is that a monthly meeting that you have? Can you determine that for me?
The meeting I'm having tomorrow is a quarterly meeting.
Okay.
With all of the Civic League presidents. I attend monthly Civic League meetings when I am invited to attend those.
Okay. Okay, very good. So I think then, because we've kind of talked this through, sir. We've kind of talked this through. So I think the decision is very clearly, those who are in favor of a quarterly meeting of update, if you would please show by raising your hand. So we'll go with the quarterly meeting. Thank you. Quarterly update, I'm sorry, quarterly update.
Boy, talking about making something difficult out of something simple.
Our next speaker is Elvira Johnson Williams. Ms. Johnson Williams, would you please come up, state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Elvira Johnson Williams. I reside at 3313 Armstead Drive in the North Truxton area. Give me half a second. Dear Lord, please gird my tongue tonight, rain down on Portsmouth, and let us be peaceful. I read something today when I was doing my devotional, and it kind of just resonated with what I'm feeling about you people. And it was in my women's devotional that I read this. And it reads Proverbs 10, verses 1 and 2. A wise son brings joy to his father, but a foolish son brings grief to his mother. Ill-gotten treasures are of no value, but righteousness shall deliver death. I don't know about nobody else, but I was really upset to hear that you about cleaned house down here with your leaders, competent people that know their jobs, are being fired for no cause. That bothers me. I'm just happy I don't work for the city of Portsmouth. I like to get on your nerves, though. It's sad when people get up every day just like they don't know if they're going to wake up on this side of heaven or wake up in hell. It's sad to know that they come down here to go to work, to do the best that they can and give it their all, and they get fired for doing their job. My mind sees manipulation, a strategizer, a con artist, folks that just don't give a damn. You have no idea. Well, maybe, no. You do have an idea how it works when you get fired. I know you do. As a citizen in this city, it hurts my heart that grown folk act worse than children in these highfalutin positions, but they are positions. And the truth of the matter is, anybody that work in the city of Portsmouth need to be scared. They need to be prayed up. Because the strategizer sits back and figure out how he is going to do what he's going to do to destroy the city that he took an oath to uplift. But he took that oath and lied on the Bible. All you elected officials, put your hands on the Bible, and you swore that you would do the best you can for the city of Portsmouth. And you're showing me just who you are, what you are. My suggestion is for the people to just note this. I heard tonight one of the council members said it out loud. I couldn't believe he even had the nerve to say it out his mouth, that we got to be good stewards of our money. Whereas you done threw away so much while you wait on your lawsuit to come through. So now we know the order of it. We got it. You got Angel gone, you got Prince gone, you done fired 3 more, even though you claim you ain't got no hit list. It's still coming on. How is that being a good steward of my money when you constantly firing people, acting like that door is a revolving door? You got to compensate them. You got to pay them something. But that's being a good steward of my money, and then you want to sue the city. How about that? But that's a good steward of your money. I suggest everybody in the city of Portsmouth, good Lord, help me, Jesus. Woo. I was asked a question, I saw a question, sir, that a friend of mine had on this shirt that said 36,000. Ask me what that means. For you people in Portsmouth and you people on this diocese, pay attention. Pay attention, God, let them listen. 36 registered voters in this city did not vote. That's sad. But that's what some of y'all counting on again. And I pray to God, oh my God, I pray to God that they get out there and vote this time around. Because what you people are doing to this city, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, but I understand you ain't got no conscience. You ain't got no conscience. You don't care. Only thing you want to do is line your pockets with my money, their money, and everybody else's money, because you ain't got none of your own. Either you ain't working, can't find a job, you won't take care of what you got, but you want to destroy the city just to show who you are. The undercover mayor in this city, you're doing a good job at ruining the city, undercover mayor. I can't call no names, so I'm talking to the entire council, but I bet you know who I'm talking about. And another thing, when does any elected official has the right to go on somebody's job and threaten them about signing a petition? If you got a job, let the people work. A vote is their own. No one on that council that's sitting before me right now has the right to threaten no one about what they want to do with their money. People of Portsmouth that work for the city of Portsmouth, beware. Beware. Because you don't know whether or not you're going to go home employed or praying to be employed. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Sergi O'Neill.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council.
Good evening, sir.
Miss EJ, I don't know how to follow that one up, but I'm gonna do my best. You know,
Sir, could you please state your name?
My
and
name
your
is
address?
Sergi O'Neill.
Thank you.
I live at 1420 Elm Avenue in this great city here.
Thank you, sir.
Trying to put a positive spin on that part, but anyway, my background is in management, right? A lot of my management experience I got through very lucrative businesses. And what I saw looking at the news on Friday, my management years went up. See, when you start trying to hide stuff, because, I titled my comments tonight as transparency. Certain managers do stuff the wrong way to try to hide it. And they fire those that can make those discoveries really fast and really quick. The HR manager is gone. The IT manager is gone. And by the way, how do y'all expect to get a quarterly update or any kind of update when the IT director is gone? If you want to put the IT person involved in that. Then you also have the CFO gone. So the money, the technology, and the HR manager, all vacant positions. 3 critical positions in this city. How do you all expect for the transparent business of this city to be done in a situation like this? Because in my opinion, as a manager, I'm a long tenured manager, somebody's trying to hide something. Whatever it is y'all are trying, and I say y'all, I know it's not all of y'all, but whatever, because we have to speak to as a body, whatever it is y'all are trying to hide, please go ahead and make it transparent. Because I can tell you right now, there are cases that are coming up where citizens are getting fed up and they're going to the state and they're going to the federal government because we are tired of this foolishness. And it's foolishness in all capital letters. We are tired of being embarrassed. When our kids go to college and they say, where are you from, Portsmouth? The people looking at them like they're crazy. I mean, we can't keep doing this to ourselves. So I want whoever it is to have the moral servitude to say, yes, it was me that made those phone calls to get those people terminated. Yes, it was me that tried to manipulate the system. Yes, it was me that tried to get my way. But y'all are doing it on the wrong people's dime. Do it on your own. Because I can guarantee you right now, had you had to come out your money for the amount of, out your pocket, for the amount of money that has been paid out in this city for termination lawsuits, severance packages, and all that crap, we could have had plenty of things built in this city. Hand over foot, we could have paid for the repair of the police station with all that money. But see, this is the kind of stuff that happens when you have people that are trying to hide something. What are you scared of? If your hands are clean, then say, yes, my hands are clean. I did what I did in decency and in order. But if not, then you got to wear the consequences. And I'm not here to make accusations, because y'all done already put it out there for us to have. It don't take much to start to connect the dots as to what's going on. And I got a wind of another situation that's coming up. Should the elections go certain people's way, there's going to be another position that's going to change hands. The manager's position, city manager's position. Let me tell you this. If that person that y'all think is going to take that spot, and y'all know who that person is, if that person gets appointed to that position, better not nail person with a criminal background get turned down for a city position ever again. And I can guarantee you, I'm going to make sure that it happens that way. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Barnes, you have the floor, sir.
I just wanted to make it clear to the public that a city manager coming in and putting their team together is not uncommon. We had one city manager who ended up getting rid of 13 department heads. One of the people who was dismissed the other day actually got rid of somebody that was a deputy city manager as well. So it's not uncommon when it's just like if you want to call it, if you're a coach or on college and you want to bring in the people who fit the scheme that you have planned. And that's what I think our city manager and previous city managers have done. So I just want to say it's not uncommon. It happens all the time. It happens everywhere. It happens at any job. People want to put people that fit what they're trying to do in the direction they have. And you know, I want to say I'm proud of our city manager for the actions that she's taking. We've made great strides in when it comes to making arrests in this city. We've also, as far as the crime plan that she's put together when it comes to detailing our neighborhoods, she's went to the Prentice Park area, and we haven't had any murder since we put that program together, Rock the Block that she had. So I want to say I'm proud of what she's doing. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, Vice Mayor. Our next speaker, Mr. Cedric Craddock.
Good evening. My name is Cedric Cradle, 725 Bow Street. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Senate Council persons, City Manager, City Attorney, and great citizens of Portsmouth, and also our great interim police chief. First thing I want to say is I got two quotes before I begin. And the first one is from Martin Luther King Jr. The ultimate measure of a man or woman is not where he stands or she stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he or she stands at times of challenge and controversy. Another quote I wanted to say is Malcolm X: if you have no critics, you likely have no success. We are definitely in some challenging times and a lot of controversial times situation, and most of you council persons could contest to that. I want to give kudos to our city manager and our police chief. I wasn't able to make the presentation. You talked about the CCTVs, but again, it was great that you introduced it in the plan. We've been talking, Unseen Tears has been talking about it for almost a year now. So again, I'll give you your flowers today. I know it's a challenging position and in some challenging times, but just keep your eyes forward and keep doing what you're doing. Another thing I wanted to talk about, I have a young man up here, his name is Kamari Caraway. He lost two cousins on this list, both from the ages of 16 years old. You see, this violence that is occurring in our city, and it's sad again, I hate to come before you, but we added 4 more people, Mr. Barnes, in the city that got killed since our last city council meeting, if you didn't know. Well, you didn't say it. You said you didn't. Okay. Yes, sir. And it's not to be combative to you. I'm just informing you if you didn't know. No, it's all right. I came to talk about the families. And the first thing I want to say to city council persons that I'm not an activist, nor am I a leader because of my background. I'm a servant. I'm a servant of God. I wouldn't do this if God didn't place it on my heart to be here for these parents. I wouldn't do this if God didn't push me forward through all the adversity that I have to experience because of what we're doing. Again, this young man has lost 2 family members on this list in a year's time. And again, we as an organization advocate for mental health counseling, and number 1, also public safety support for our police department. There are so many other challenging issues that I can sit here and talk about, but I'm not going to make it personal because, again, I'm a servant. I'm not a leader. I always, before I leave, I come before you with the added names of the murder victims in the city of Portsmouth. And again, please be aware that families are listening when you say the terms "but," and you say the terms "your list," and you say certain things that are behooving or are critical of judgment. But anyway, Charles Mosley, Cord Terry, Timothy Bill, who died in Hampton, but his family's from Portsmouth, Emmanuel Terry, Jeffrey Bazemore, Jaquan Johnson, Carlton Dodd, Tashik Wolf, Anthony Skeeter, Raekwon Morgan, Natasia Hicks, Jamel Howard, Darion Granger, Amaje Lee, Damon Mitchell, Lakeisha Smith, DeAndre Morrison, Joshua Sykes, Antoine Wiggins, Talik Farmer, Vernon Novell, Yashim Caraway, James Hill, Dante Copeland, Robert Artis, Malcolm Hoskins, Javar Williams, Kamadre Howard, Daquan Epps, Omar Booker, Robert Langston, Nicholas Suggs, Richard Tucker, his cousin, Timothy Shine, Brian Williams, Marquell, Curtis Walton, Kyrie Thomas, William Selfridge, Carlson Baines, Mantonio Bunch, Curtis Richardson, Andre Hall, Kiara. Mayor, can I please finish? Thank you, Mayor. Victor Green, David Branch, Lawrence Kofa, Crystal Jacobs, Derek Parker, Demetrius White, Booby Staten, Melanie Everett, she was 8 years old, Amarian Collins, Andrea Bethea, Kareem Barchet, Rodney Anderson, Gary Fields, Jamont Mitchell, Keith Warren, Raekwon Gray, Deion Lofton Jr., Georgia Devontae Lee, Alicia Deanna Mears, Ashley Merricks, Robert Parker, Dalen Spence, Terrence A. Johnson, Devin Crosby, Tyrell Jones, Ariel McLaren, Xavier Hill, Keandre Jenkins, John Plummer Jr., Bernard Clack, Mays Moon, Anthony Brown, Jaquan White, Christopher Washington, Clifton Privet, Ashante Britt, Lamont Brown, and Donald Thornton. Again, we come here, Unseen Tears, to speak for the voiceless and the mothers who haven't received any support but from few council people, including the mayor. I mean, we thank you, but again, we're not coming here being divisive. We're coming here because it's going to take a team effort to change this thing around. It's not going to just take Unseen Tears. It's going to take Mr. Christopher Woodard, Dr. Whitaker, Miss Leslie Burke, Miss Lisa Lucasberg, Mr. Moody, DeAndre Barnes, Mr. Paul Battle, Miss Tanya Chapman, our manager, our city attorney, and our great interim chief of police. It's going to take all of us. And again, I thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Ms. Donna Sy.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live at 3104 Garland Drive in Woodbine Farms neighborhood, Churchland. Non-agenda item. On Tuesday, September the 13th, I came before the City Council, reported concern a neighbor revealed to me. I did a Freedom of Information Act to find out the details of how the property at 5315 High Street West got sold without the neighborhood's knowledge or consent. A copy of June the 17th PRHA Commission meeting minutes were given by FOIA. And there were these discussions. There is the necessity to update the cooperative agreement between PRHA and the city. Yes, where is the cooperative agreement between the city and PRHA? Next, the chairman reported that the second priority involved is expanding the base of senior housing and workforce housing through collaboration with any entity in Portsmouth or the Hampton Roads area. PRHA is in negotiation to see what opportunities lie in the development area of 5315 High Street West. It was reported that the city of Portsmouth will award PRHA $150,000 of CDBG funds to implement the elderly home care program. So the city has been complicit in this project to take away the neighborhood's right to self-govern? Note, PRHA paid $650,000 for the property out of the taxation, out of the people's paychecks. Vice Chair of PRHA asked if the city shared how they came up with the amount of $150,000. She expected the offer to be $250,000. The report, I'm not going to say the name, the reporters said that the city did not share how they derived the amount, but they explained there may be opportunities to obtain more money once the authority utilizes the initial funds. Note, who in the city did not share how the amount of money would be given? All right, so the October PRHA Commission meeting, the discussion, the Development Committee reported the senior home repair program was still being advertised to contractors for solicitation. The presenter presented resolution 2021-35, acquisition of property at 5315 High Street West. The roll call vote was unanimous on the November PRHA Commission meeting. The Development Committee reported they expect to be under contract at 5315 High Street West soon. Resolution 21-35, resolution authorizing execution of one or more deeds of bargain and sale with the owners for the conveyance of properties located at 5315 High Street West. All these minutes of the PRHA meetings demonstrate the lack of organization and structure of the city and the boards and commissions. The people do not have a voice in their own self-government. This property is on a hill and is not suitable for the elderly to live on this property, and the traffic is heavy day and night. This resolution is an execution of the people, just like what happened in Germany under Hitler.
Next speaker is Sean Hartung. Sean Hartung. Did I pronounce your name right, sir?
Hartung, but yeah.
Hartung? Okay. Okay. Mr. Hartung, if you would state your name and address.
This is
You have
Sean
5
Hartung,
minutes.
1 High Street, recent to the area. I've been here now for about 2 years, and one of the things I noticed around here that you guys have a wealth of old right-of-ways for your trails, for your train tracks that go along here. I actually submitted a link for the Open Trails website that you can see if they have it, if they're able to pull it up. That on the north side, that you guys have a lot of stuff, and I've noticed a couple of things where, they're at the edge of Chesapeake and Portsmouth, that there might be some larger plans for encroaching in those right-of-ways, but this is a wealth of that you guys have of an old right-of-ways for those train tracks for future light rail initiatives to connect a lot of different areas that you have that buses can't really go or don't go, and that they kind of cut through property areas that you can't really do anymore. And just make sure to preserve those. And I would request a initiative for the planning department to look into doing a study on how those areas can best be used for future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hartung. Councilman Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Sean, I actually been working on that. Well, it was early this year. I was working on it with our city manager's office. Like you say, we have dormant tracks throughout Portsmouth that's not being used, deteriorating right before our eyes.
Down right there.
Right here, and it comes right into our business district. And, one thing I proposed was, can we do a straight shot to our future business district, our entertainment district? Like you said, because the tracks they're available, but they're not being used. Of course, it could be scheduling issues, but like you said, once again, those are things that we can place a study at. But during our joint meeting with our state legislators, that was one idea I did brought up. And like you say, it may not be something we could potentially run through our whole entire city. But if we can start on it, it could be something that's beneficial to our citizens in the future and also the overall growth of Portsmouth. So I commend you for coming up here, stating those ideas, and anything I can do to support you or support your ideas, please contact me. But I think it's something that it definitely benefit the citizens here in Portsmouth.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker, Ms. Laniqua Taylor. Ms. Taylor, going once, going twice. Our next speaker, Ms. Sinise Johnson. Sinise Johnson.
Yes, good evening. My name is Sinise Johnson. I reside at 501 Viking Street in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Ma'am, if you could come over to the mic a little bit more, please, so we can hear you.
Yes, I reside at 501 Viking Street in Portsmouth, Virginia. And I was notified a couple of weeks ago that the City Council approved for a brand-new rec center and a brand-new gym. And so I just came to thank you for it. And I'm representing the Capital Civic League. Our Civic League president is Mr. Ray Smith, and I've been a member of that Civic League for over 25 years. And I've been advocating a new gym and rec center and swimming pool for dating back to 1984. And I've been through quite a few city managers. And the last city manager that I had a conversation with, who's no longer here, was Mrs. Angel Jones. And she had talked to me in our conversation and told me that the money, the finances were here. I know about the budget, and I do know it takes money and it takes time. And she told me that the money was in the budget, but the city council had to approve it. And I understand that too, so I just wanted to come here and thank you, because the facilities is over 50 years old, and the community needs that, for the future generation of the kids. And along with that, I wanted to just let you all know that I've been fighting to keep the tennis courts there for the kids of the future. We played tennis. I've been playing for 35 years, and me and my colleagues, during the time we were playing over 20 years ago, the tennis courts were used. We had tournaments out there, and not only were we trying to pursue the tennis profession, it was just our hobby. So me and my colleagues, we developed a love for the game. So we end up, our love for the game took us to the Grand Slam tournaments. And so being as a member of the USTA, we learned that the USTA will give over $100 million in tennis scholarships to children. So what we want to do, we want our kids to get some of that money that we invested in as a member of the USTA. So we have some projects coming up, some tournaments coming up, and we're going to invite, like we have in the past, kids in the city of Portsmouth. We want them to come out and use those tennis courts, because I've been fighting for those tennis courts for a while. And Moody knows about it. He was on council. And I think Paul Battle probably familiar with it, but the rest of it, and Dr. Mark Wilker knows about it. And so we worked hard to keep the courts here. So we want, what we're not doing now, we're working to get the kids on the courts. I want to see kids with tennis rackets on those courts, because the tennis courts cost money, and we appreciate you all, the city council before you all, and some of the members, we appreciate you all fighting and having the tennis courts renovated. They were renovated in 2015, and there's a few things that we need to be done to be done on the courts, like we need benches for the kids, so when they play tournaments, they can sit down, have seats, and I'll address that later. But I also want to thank the members of the Cavalier Mountain Civic League and the community who are no longer here, who always encouraged me, to come down to council meetings, because if it hadn't been for people like Dr. Holly and our Senator Lucas, she encouraged me to come and get involved. I probably would have never even come to a city council meeting. So I just want to thank them also, and the late Joe Wright and Betty Wright, and Dr. Holly. I also want to thank them for their encouragement, So anyway, thank you all.
Dr. Whitaker, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I just want to make sure, just so that since Ms. Johnson made a statement about the council approved the funding, there needs to be some clarification maybe sent to the Cavalier Mountain Civic League to make sure that they understand exactly what action council has taken in that regard. Still has to be, money still have to be allocated to that. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct, Dr. Whitaker. We approved the funding to go towards the plans.
Right.
So yes, but we'll get an update too.
Right. So the renderings that we.
Right.
Saw,
I will have to check back into the specifics on what was actually done. But.
Right. So, Ms. Johnson, I'm sharing that with you to make sure that the Civic League remains an advocate for making sure that monies are put there to the completion. So, because what has been done so far is just, I believe it's the renderings, the money towards the plans, but the exact facility that still has to be allocated.
Okay.
And so you got to make sure that you stay on top of that.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Mr. Robert Mills. Mr. Mills, sir, you will come forward and state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes.
My name is Robert Mills. I'm the president of the Craddock Lions Club. I live at 213 Bellhaven Road, was Craddock. I want to thank you to the mayor, the council, everybody for our proclamation this past weekend. We celebrated our 75th anniversary of service to the community as a Lions Club. We were started in 1947 by a gentleman named Jesse H. Overton and 53 other gentlemen. The mayor was at our thing and presented our proclamation to us and read it, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart and all our Lions, past and future Craddock Lions. And thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome, Mr. Mills. Our next speaker. But before I bring up our next speaker, I do want to say about the Craddock Lions Club. Many of you may not be aware of what the Lions Club does. It is an international service organization, and it provides, and help me, Mr. Mills, can you come back? It provides eye care, eye testing, and things of that nature to individuals who may not be able to afford it. It helps our kids in our public schools. It comes in and gives free eye exams. Is that correct?
Yes.
And a
We're
lot
not
of our
right now in the city of Portsmouth because you all got a grant. So because the Lions Club's out, because what we were doing for free, you're being paid to do now.
Okay, but I
other
guess
than that,
yeah, I guess
we sell brooms, scrubbies. We do donations. We have Come Home to Craddock. We're going to be up at the Come Home to Craddock in October the 8th. And so we're very community activated.
But also, if there's individuals in the community that may be on a fixed income and they need an eye exam, do you have support services for
Yes, we
those
do.
kinds of things?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We have a doctor out in Churchland that been with us for going on almost 50 years now. And he's very activated. All we got to do is call him up, tell him we've got a person that needs glasses, he'll give him a free eye exam. We pay for that.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Mills. Thank
Through
you for
all
your...
through the donations that we collect out there in the community and things we present. I mean, we're very active.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker. Thank you, Councilman Woodard. Our next speaker, Michelle Smith. Ma'am, if you would state your name and address, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Smith. I stay on Cavalier Boulevard. Mayor, Council, and City of Portsmouth. I had to write what I was going to say because sometimes I can go a little off literally, and I want to make sure that I'm appropriate with my terms because honestly, I'm a little pissed. But anyway, as I was raised in Portsmouth, attended and graduated from Portsmouth Public Schools, IC Norcom. I was also a school social worker at S.H. Clark and a special ed teacher. So while S.H. Clark, it was during the time Ida Barbara, Howard Holmes, Jeffrey Wilson, Lincoln Park, and all of that. And I was in the military, retired, and so on my spirit, I constantly think about the kids. Praise God, I'm 55. But with all the turmoil that has been going on, this year seems to be going well, I think about the kids. And with that, as I think about the future, I want what's best for them. And in that light, I strongly, strongly support the recall of Mark Whitaker and DeAndre Barnes.
Ma'am, you have to address the council as a whole.
Okay,
So
council, I
Right,
strongly suggest, I don't know what I'm supposed to say, that's why I said pray about these two, okay? To the citizens of Portsmouth, I support the recall because the lack of transparency without public input and the full council support I think I'm gonna be doing this wrong, but y'all can tell me. Whitaker and Barnes voted to abruptly terminate the contract of the qualified city manager, Angel Jones, over the strong opposition of many of the citizens of Portsmouth. I strongly support the recall as they demonstrated a breach of public trust. Whitaker and Barnes.
Ma'am, please don't use their names.
Okay.
Just speak in terms of
These
general
two
terms.
individuals, can I say that?
You can say some council members. perhaps.
Some council members, roger that.
Mr.
I
Mayor,
got you.
Mr. Mayor, can I just have a point of order?
Sir, excuse me, ma'am, what is
Yes.
your point of order?
And this is for the city attorney. The speaker statement that is read, it says that it's limited to matters that only the.
Well,
Portsmouth
first of all, sir,
Hold on,
you needed
I
to
have the
state,
floor.
no, you needed to state your point of order.
It is, that's what I'm
Okay,
trying
you
to.
needed to state it to me. What is your point of order?
No, the point of order is that
Madam Attorney?
the speaker's rules.
Okay, you need to
aren't
state
being
your
followed.
point of order to me because I'm the chair.
Okay, I will do that. You're
Okay.
right, I'll do that. The speaker's rules are not being followed.
Sir,
The speaker's-
I have talked to, go ahead, finish. Go ahead and finish.
The speaker's rules say that it's limited to matters that only the Portsmouth City Council can influence. The Portsmouth City Council cannot influence a recall. They have every right to recall, which I have no problems with. But to bring it before council, that's a different issue. And so that's what I was raising to the.
Thank you, sir.
city
And your
attorney.
point of order is not recognized. The citizen is able to continue to speak. I have asked
Then-
her to please do not
Mention
mention
specific
any
names.
names. And the point of order is the call of the chair. It is not the call of the city attorney.
Then I'm
And as
going-
the chair, I have listened to your point of order, and sir, it is not recognized
Right.
as the council.
Then, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to ask that council overrule your decision.
Council cannot overrule a point of order given by the mayor. It is unchallengeable. Madam, please proceed.
Roger that. The two individuals, is that cool? Is that good?
You can
The
say
two individuals negotiated an unprecedented, they proposed a contract, I'm sorry, I'm getting nervous up here because I'm angry at the individuals, and appointed an unqualified city manager, who was the former police chief.
Again, Mayor, point of order is not to come up here and attack.
Ma'am,
Staff.
sir, what is your point of order? Because she is speaking
She's
in general
violating
terms.
the speaker. The
Your
city-
point of order is not
the
recognized.
city manager is
And
not,
you are out of
uh,
order.
the city
Ma'am,
manager is not-
continue, please.
Roger that.
Continue.
And was
your
never
comments.
interviewed, and was
you're allowing
never
disorder.
interviewed by the entire city council, and was forced out of she was in a position. This contract has a devastating potential cost of $400,000 to the taxpayers. Two of the individuals up here have led opposition and voted no on several economic development projects that could have generated millions of dollars of revenue to the city. So as grew up in Portsmouth, IC Norcom graduate, hardcore active in the community, I pray that we will have some resolve for this. I pray that the city of Portsmouth, the citizens, will wake up and not be bamboozled, we can run them up. Some of y'all really know that, right? And it's just not good. We looking like a damn soap opera up here because of all this. And I said I was gonna try to snap all of the BS. Can I say BS?
You have said.
Roger that. Okay. Well, that's what I have to say, but I say this sincerely to the citizens of Portsmouth, that we wake up and we stay woke, because we got some mess going on. And if we sit back just like we lost folk, see you, just like we lost folk last week, it's just gonna be a ripple effect. So as a taxpaying city of Portsmouth, graduated Portsmouth Public Schools, I'm saying what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And before we close, I just want to make something clear. As a citizen of the city of Portsmouth and a taxpayer, when you sign up to be a non-agenda speaker, some of my colleagues don't like it, the way that our public speakers speak. But you are entitled, as a citizen, to come before this council, this body, to come and share your concerns. Now, she used a word and I gave her a warning. That was inappropriate. This is not the first time that folks have used words that were inappropriate, and I gave them a warning. But as your mayor and as the elected leader of this city of Portsmouth, I respect every individual that comes up there to speak. And why do I respect them is because they take the time out of their schedule after they have worked and done what they've done for a long day, and they show the courage and the determination. They don't always get it right, and I'm not up here to judge whether you're right or wrong in that situation. But what I am here to do is to ensure that you have the opportunity to come and speak. There is a decorum in the chamber, and that is why we read the speaker's statement twice, to re-inform you. Repetition is the key to adult learning. And I will say this in closing. It is your council. Remember that. It is not my council. It is no one's council up here on the dais. It is your council. And with that said, seeing no more business for the evening, this meeting is adjourned.